Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 24 playthrough of the Buffalo Wings. And this should be a very special episode. It is the 250th episode of this OOTP 24 series. So we haven't quite put out an episode a day since we started this series about 10 months ago, but we're not too far off of that pace, which is absolutely insane to me. But we have a very small, loyal, and helpful viewer base who have consistently watched this series and shared thoughts with us on how to do better. And really appreciate everyone who has watched this series, particularly those of you who are frequent viewers and frequent commenters. As I've said many times in the past, if it wasn't for the viewers, I would just be a crazy middle-aged man talking to himself while doing these videos. So I do sincerely appreciate that. And in addition to being special because it's the 250th episode, we've also got a pretty special team here in Buffalo this year in 2046. As of August 1st, we are 74-33, a .691 winning percentage. And if we keep winning at that rate, we'll be the second best season, tied for the second best season in Buffalo history. We won 118 games in 2040, and unfortunately were knocked out in 5 games, 3-2 in the NLDS that season. Our second best season, which we're on pace to match this year, is 112 wins, a total that we put up in 2034, which happened to be the first of our 5 World Series titles. So in addition to possibly putting up an historic season in the context of this Buffalo Wings franchise, we're also going for a three-peat this year. And as we sit here on August 1st, we've got a 12.5 game lead over the Marlins in the National League East. And the Diamondbacks have the second best record in baseball, and they are 11.5 games behind us. So certainly would hope and expect that we have home field advantage for as long as our team is alive in these upcoming 2046 playoffs. And the main goal now is to see if we can get this team to 110 plus in terms of wins. And even more importantly than that, ensure that the team is healthy and well come playoff time. And we've simmed through the first couple weeks of August, and we're still doing pretty well. We took the final game of a homestand against Colorado. We split 4 games with the Mets in New York before taking 2 out of 3 at home against the Expos. And then we just swept a series at home against the Marlins. So we've got American League teams coming up the next week at Texas, and then home against Toronto, and then a 4-game road trip to Pittsburgh, 3 games at Montreal, followed by 2 games at Washington, before we finish off the month of August at home against the White Sox. So feeling pretty good about where the team is at this point. The lead has expanded to 15.5, with the Marlins losing 4 in a row. The Reds remain the second best team in baseball, and we're 13 up on them for the best record in baseball at this point. You can see Riker and Casares, both of whom are playing their first full major league seasons for us, are 1-2 in the National League in ribbies. And Reichert, with 33 homers, is second in the league. Casares with 30 really isn't far behind either. So some pretty great years from those young players. Josh Porter, the veteran, actually leads our team in WAR at 5.1. The youngster Danny Black, 15 wins with a 2.38 ERA. Those figures rank first and second in the National League at this point. He's not on top in pitcher WAR. His pitcher WAR for this season stands at 3.9, so he's just off the leaderboard in that metric. But I forget who the viewer was who made the observation to our last episode, and I apologize for forgetting who said this, but we're saying that maybe we're going to get a Cy Young Award out of Danny Black this year, and it's not inconceivable that that could happen. The thing that could be real interesting about it, though, is that Black is a rookie, and he probably has a better chance of winning the Cy Young Award than he does of winning Rookie of the Year, because Casares 118 WRC plus on the year, but already has 30 homers and 96 ribbies with about 7 weeks left to play in the season. So Casares is likely to put up some pretty impressive counting numbers, and I think he'll be pretty difficult to beat in that Rookie of the Year vote. But Danny Black certainly appears as if he's going to make it interesting, that's for sure. And we've made it to September 1st. Our winning percentage has dropped off a little bit to .679, but our 91-43 record still easily the best in baseball. 12 games up on the Marlins in the NL East, and as it happens, we're 12 games up on the Marlins for the best record in baseball. Jim Reichert, in his first full major league season after an injury-plagued rookie year a year ago, tied for the National League lead with 39 homers and leading the league with 119 ribbies, second in OPS at .924 right now. Danny Black still leading the league with 17 wins and third in the league with a 2.41 ERA. Jim Coles tied for second in the league with 14 wins. So our number 4 and 5 starters are first and second in the National League in wins as we sit here on September 1st. Taking a look at the team statistics, Pythagorean expectations are for 94 wins, so we're actually 3 worse than expectations at this point. First in the National League in runs scored, and you can see we are first in every category in the National League offensively, except we're second in extra base hits, third in homers, tied for fourth in walks, and third in strikeouts. So incredible offensive team. And at this point, the offense is probably a little bit worse than our defense, because we're first in the National League in runs allowed, and we're also first in the vast majority of pitching categories as well. Second in starter ERA, second in BABIP, third in homers allowed, and fifth in strikeouts. We're fourth in the NL in stolen bases, middle of the pack in terms of base running, fourth in the NL in defensive efficiency, and first in zone rating. So everything is going really well for this team. It's probably the most balanced and the strongest team we've had in the 21 major league seasons that we have played in Buffalo at this point. Gonna add 4 people to the roster now with September roster expansion, and we're at a situation now where there are no real significant injuries, and the goal is to keep the team healthy over the final month of the season. Pitching-wise, we added 2 pitchers to the team, Joey Bills and Chad Aguirre, both of whom have spent some time on the Major League team this year. Want to see what those younger players can do over the final month of the season. And we also added 2 position players, the veteran infielder Mike Frank, who had a little bit of time with us a year ago. Little bit of home run pop. Extremely unlikely he'll make the postseason roster, but felt like he was deserving of at least another look at the major league level. And then more interestingly than Frank, we also promoted Daniel Aguayo Leal, the number 44 prospect in baseball. Had a pretty strong year in Buffalo this year, 286 in Albany, AAA Albany this year, hit 286 with 39 homers, 94 ribbies, 149 WRC plus. He's a switch-hitting corner outfielder. We're going to regularly play him against left-handed pitching where he's pretty darn effective. So he's not going to be an everyday player for us down the stretch, but it's not inconceivable that he could be in the mix for a spot on the playoff roster, particularly if he proves to be a productive bat making his major league debut over the next several weeks. And I guess it's positive that we've got a couple extra pitchers because our excellent stopper Floyd Auclair was just suspended for 12 games. I believe that's the biggest suspension we've ever gotten in this playthrough. It could end up costing Auclair an opportunity to lead the league in games and holds for a fourth consecutive season. He has been as good as ever this year, 114 and 2/3 innings pitched, only 57 hits allowed, ridiculous 163 strikeouts, and 1.49 ERA. The fact that he'll probably miss out on 5 or 6 games in 8 to 10 innings pitched, don't know if it'll have any impact on whether he can lead the league in games and holds. Probably hurts him on those fronts, and also probably makes it a little bit less likely that he'll earn a second Mariano Rivera award this season, which would be disappointing because he certainly had an outside shot at getting 200 strikeouts as a reliever again this year. With the fact that he's going to basically miss half of the month of September, probably not going to quite get to that number at this point. And we've gotten off to a good start in the month with a 6-2 record over our first 8 games. We've clinched a playoff spot for a record-extending 19th consecutive season. Unfortunately, we do have some bad news on the injury front, but it's news that I think we're capable of recovering from. The young pitcher Joey Bills, who's been up and down between Buffalo and the minors this year, pretty effective at both levels, out 6 to 7 weeks with a herniated disc in his back. We're going to throw him on the IL. We've got plenty of depth still at AAA. He was going to be marginal to make the postseason roster anyways, so certainly a less significant loss than some of our top starters and top relievers, but would have certainly preferred to at least have the option as far as decision making for the playoffs with Critter Bills, and unfortunately he will not be on the playoff roster this year, and he'll be rehabbing his back, which probably means resting a lot. And our brilliant young outfielder Arturo Quesada is also banged up, a sprained ankle. He's day-to-day for a week, but it is going to have a moderate impact on both throwing and running for him. He's hitting .267 this year, 35 homers, 106 ribbies. So maybe the fact that we're going to bench him for a week just to try to keep him healthy will help Danny Black in what should be an interesting contest for Rookie of the Year between our two brilliant young players. Disappointing that he'll miss a week, but we're going to be real conservative with him. The main thing is to ensure that he is healthy and well for the playoffs. And unfortunately, we only had a 500 week as we head into the final couple weeks of the season. We lost 2 out of 3 in Los Angeles against the Dodgers before taking 2 out of 3 on the road in Cincinnati. We've got 4 games at Miami and then 3 against Philadelphia to complete this long road trip. And then we'll finish off the season with 3 against the Mets and 4 against the Braves. We have clinched the National League East at 148. We've also got a 100-win season. We are, at this point, 17 games up on the Marlins. Obviously, we've clinched, as I talked about. best record in baseball. We are 13.5 ahead of the Giants, so very close to clinching that as well. Jim Reichert, with 44 homers and 131 ribbies, is leading the National League in both of those categories, and likely to set Buffalo Wings franchise team records in both of those numbers this year. I believe he's already tied with the 44 homers, so I think one more will get him past Shamar Jenneret. And I believe Jenneret once had 138 ribbies in a season, so Reichert hopefully will get past that number in these final 2 weeks of the season. Main thing, however, is to just remain healthy. Bills on the IL, as we mentioned, we don't expect him for the playoffs, but we have got Casares back healthy after sitting him out for close to a week. Nobody else banged up right now, so the point is to just hopefully win more games than we lose the rest of the way in the next few days, hopefully clinch the best record in baseball, and then remain healthy and well for the playoffs, where we'll be trying for that three-peat. And the penultimate week of the regular season was a good one for the Wings. Took 3 out of 4 at Miami and then 2 out of 3 at Philadelphia. So 7 games left now in the regular season, and they are all going to be at home. We've got a chance of getting to 112, which we talked about at the beginning of the episode, but we're going to have to go 7-0 to get there. So pretty unlikely that we will match the second best record in team history. We'll probably end up with the third most wins in the history of the Buffalo Wings. Reichert has had a monster week, now has 50 homers and 142 ribbies, both of which are all-time Buffalo Wings records. He's also first in the league in OPS now. Casares is actually third in the National League in batter WAR. Danny Black with 17 wins continues to lead the league. Coles and Barajas are tied for second at 15. Black with that 2.57 ERA ranks third. And our closer, Chris McClintock, ranks third with 36 saves. Mentioned the monster week that Reichert had. And 407 average, 6 homers, 11 ribbies. He's going to be a strong contender for the National League MVP here in his first full Major League season. And the good news, I mentioned we needed to go 7-0 to get to those 112 wins, and we've won 4 in a row, so we're only need to go 3-0 now in the final 3 games to get to 112. The bad news is we've got an injury. Not a critical one, but still pretty disappointing. Juan Palomo, who took over as our primary utility infielder this year and actually has been our starting shortstop against left-handed pitching, hit 300 in 214 at-bats for us, 116 WRC plus 1.5 WAR, and he is out for 5 weeks with a bone spur in his elbow. So that's disappointing. Does mean we're probably going to bring up Josh Fuchs from AAA. Obviously, the AAA season is over right now. But Fuchs, by virtue of his glove, does have a chance of perhaps making the postseason roster. I guess, in theory, we could give more playing time to Mike Whitehead, who hasn't played much at all this year, as our number 2 utility infielder behind Palomo. But Whitehead's glove is not quite as good as Palomo's or Fuchs. So although Fuchs' bat still says he's probably not quite ready for the majors, he may get some playing time over these next 3 games, and he'll at least be a decision for the playoff roster. And we've lost 2 straight to Atlanta. Final day of the regular season coming up. If we win, we will get to 110. Interesting note, our old friend Joe Edwards just hit the 300th home run of his career. He is still at this point the leading home run hitter for a career in Buffalo Wings history. With the 163 home runs that he hit for us from 2032 to 2039. With the type of start to the careers we've gotten from Jim Reichert and Arturo Casares, would tend to think that some point over the next 4 to 5 years, Edwards will probably no longer be Buffalo's all-time home run king. And we lost a 3rd straight game to Atlanta to finish off the regular season, so only 109 wins for Buffalo. But first time we have a home run champion in this playthrough. And Reichert, also the National League Batter of the Month, hit 347, 14 homers, 26 ribbies. Monster season overall for Reichert, 293, 53 homers, and 145 runs driven in. Taking a look at the final standings here, 109 and 53. Obviously don't love losing our last 3 games before the playoffs, but we were not really playing for much at that point, while Atlanta was fighting for the final playoff spot in the National League. So they certainly had a bit more incentive than us. Only 100-win team in baseball. We will have home field advantage as we pursue the three-peat for as long as we are alive. Reichert with the 53 homers and 145 ribbies easily leads the National League in both of those categories. Also leads the league in OPS. The rookie Casares, 37 homers, 113 ribbies, and 6.7 WAR, second best in the National League. Danny Black ended up leading the league with 18 wins. Barajas and Coles tied with 16 for second. Black's 2.45 ERA as a rookie, second in the National League. And Chris McClintock ends up third in saves in his first year as Buffalo's closer. We ended up 6 games below Pythagorean expectations. We were expected to win 115. Ended up first in the National League in runs scored with 907. I believe that's the best offense we've ever had in this playthrough. And we ended up first in the National League with 554 runs allowed. Excellent defensive team, pretty good on the base paths as well. Can't ask for more than this. Now we just have to bring it home in the playoffs. I don't think the 554 runs allowed is the least we've ever had. It's close, but I don't think it's quite our best season. The 907 runs is absolutely the best offense we've ever had here in Buffalo. And the 554 runs allowed, 2 more than a couple years ago. We also had 551 back in 2040. So it looks like it's the 3rd best season of this playthrough in terms of preventing teams from scoring, the best season overall in terms of scoring runs, and the 109 wins does end up ranking 3rd overall in Buffalo history, behind the 118 in 2040 and the 112 in 2034. And obviously the 109 we got this year is just ahead of the 108 and 54 record we had in 2035. So excellent regular season for the Buffalo Wings. And we'll find out in our next episode whether we are able to execute on the three-peat, which is really what this season has all been about. And we'll find out whether or not we are successful next time around. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.